I graduated from American University in Cairo in fine art and mass communication. I did a double major. And then afterwards I wanted to pursue the career in fine art. So I went to Central St. Martin's in London School of Art. It was a 2-year program. After I finished my master's degree, I went back to Cairo because I was very motivated to continue what I already learned and to keep going instead of moving backward. So I had this feeling that I wanted to make the art scene better, to actually work better and try harder as much as I can, because Cairo has a lot of potential and I should try to be in the art scene in Cairo as much as I can. My mentor, his name is Shadi Nashayati. He taught me how to understand art. He made me look at art in a different way and to understand each work and try to feel it as much as I can. And he taught me how to paint and how to be trained to look at art in a certain way. And he gave me the motivation to work, because at the beginning I thought that I didn't do good art because it wasn't realistic art, or it didn't have a specific, it was different, and I thought that different was wrong, and he made me understand that different doesn't necessarily have to be wrong. Every artist is different, every artist has his own way of painting, and it doesn't have to relate to anything. It just has to be a relationship with yourself and the theme that you do. So he's the one who pushed me to move forward. He helped me to apply to schools outside of the world. He made me confident enough to travel and to go to a very well-known art school in London, and that I never thought I would get accepted to, for example, but I did. So he made me more confident, because I lacked the confidence I needed to continue my career in art. It was very important to understand that art does not have to be understood. It doesn't have to be something specific. It just has to be a feeling or an emotion that you can get from a painting. That's why my paintings, there isn't a specific object or a specific body that you can see, but the whole experience of looking at the painting and spending time to understand it is important. And it's the whole point of it. That's why I use colors that represent things at the same time. I want you, the viewer, to discover the painting and to see it the way you want to see it and to perceive it the way you want to perceive it, because it's open for interpretation. In London, it was a 2-year program. It was an independent method of teaching. So we were given a studio space, and we shared it with the rest of the students. So I got the chance to see each student and how they work together, and I never had this opportunity before. this is how my painting actually changed. The fact that I would see people working from all around the world and how each artist did something completely different, and I realized that there wasn't really a competition because each person was unique in his own way or her own way. And of course I learned a lot from each student and each teacher and each exhibition I've went to, and this helped shape me as a person, and it made me more confident as an artist, and it made me want to move forward and enjoy art more and love art more. The way I usually paint is that I have a lot of referencing from the internet and from magazines, even like Arab magazines and new magazines, and quotes and science fiction movies and novels, and I collect all of this data and I have it all spread around me everywhere in my studio. And then I have sort of an idea in my head, but it's not planned. I usually don't plan a painting, and then I start working. So the process is very spontaneous, very in the moment. It's like an action that keeps going and going. So the paintings are always like becoming and never ending because this is a spontaneous way of painting and acting. It feels like a relationship between myself and the canvas. So when you ask me to describe a certain painting or each painting, it's very difficult for me to do so because it's always continuous and I never stop and it's never ending, and I always want to work more and more, and it keeps inspiring me to even do more things and try to work in a way that isn't the same, and so that I wouldn't repeat myself or I wouldn't do the same painting over again. But the themes are usually the same. I started, for example, with the theme that's related to plastic surgery, so I would do paintings that how also the body of the female would change according to the surgeries they've done. And then I did also another project about muscular dystrophy because I was really intrigued by the fact how a disease can change or deteriorate your body. So I'm very interested in the subject of change and how the body can all of a sudden change through years or by the internet or by imagery, because we're very affected by each other, and I want also always to show the struggle of changing. Each painting, the story happens while I'm painting. I start imagining things and I start looking at the references around me. There is usually research. For example, because I wanted to understand my technique of painting and my way of painting, I would read books and read about artists around the world who also had the same way of painting. And I realized that there was a book, especially this book, it was called The Logic of Sensations. It was about Francis Bacon. He was a British artist. He would do paintings that are very grotesque and bloody, and it was like a lot of movement happening inside of it, but there was always this interior of a room inside of it. And he was also an interior designer. That's why he would have like a blank room. At the same time, there was always something happening inside. He didn't inspire me as an artist as much as I was inspired by the method of his painting, because he would also do the same. He would have a lot of research and references, and then he would start painting at the spot. So the book I was speaking about, it made me understand that even though I cannot explain each painting or the method I'm doing, I'm on the right track, and this is also a type of painting that is different than the other people and how they think and how they work. The logic of sensations spoke of their relationship with the canvas and how an action can happen on the spot and being spontaneous, and how the painter sees the canvas, the white wall, and that it has a lot of opportunities and has a lot of ideas and space. So I would try to remember those things. It was very important to print out everything, every detail, everything I've captured throughout the years to start painting. I'm also very inspired by chaos because I'm from Egypt, and I'm used to the traffic and the busy life, and everyone is a lot of people around me. So I really like the paintings when they're crammed together or when there's a lot of things happening at the same time, because I see Cairo like that. Usually I don't paint anything inspired, like related to Egypt or Cairo, but at one way or another I'm affected by the way I live and the society, because my paintings are from the society and culture and how I am perceived as a woman, so I am affected by everything around me. The atmosphere around you is very important. Around the world, they really appreciate art and artists, but in Egypt, I feel that they have more important issues, that they don't have enough money to buy paint, but at the same time, they are not trained to understand art or to love art. So even like the people around me, they do like push me to work harder, but at the same time, they are not keen to know or understand art or paintings, because they were not trained or raised to love art. So even if there are exhibitions or galleries or like events happening related to art, very few people, the community is very small because very few people are really interested, and very few people are keen to buy art, and the Egyptian collectors in Egypt are very scarce, and even the ones that are there, they're used to older generations and they don't really support young artists. And so it's very difficult to be an artist here. If you're a young artist, it takes years, but I think it takes years around the world. You can't be an artist from the start, of course. I think art needs to be supported, because there are very good artists and very talented artists that need to work and want to continue, but there are not a lot of opportunities, and there are not a lot of galleries, and the foundations are not a lot as well, even though there are, but they need to grow more, and the art scene has to grow because it's very limited and very small. So artists who are Egyptians the ones that are very talented tend to travel around the world instead of working here in Cairo, because they can't find suitable galleries for them, and they can't sell because there are not a lot of people who can afford to buy their work, or who would want to buy works because they would prefer to buy something else instead of art. Nowadays, contemporary art is related to having a theme and a concept behind each work. So the theme is the way you paint is important to the theme. It has to represent the theme. It has to show it more and make it even more stronger. So if I have a theme in my mind or a concept like fractals, that has to be that speaks of fragmentation and fractals and the science of the body. I'm stuck with the whole notion of the body, so I have to represent it in one way or another. That's why I use, for example, skin tones that can represent the body, or I use some parts of science, biology, or body parts that can one way or another also show the art. That's why I also don't have a method of painting or a certain way that I paint. I don't have a plan. Sometimes I do sketches, but at the end of the day I don't really paint those sketches, and I cannot copy. I don't know how to copy. So the way I paint works better when it's less planned and it's more spontaneous. I think this is the way I was raised, because in my home my mother would, anything she has, she would try to work with it and try to make it beautiful and try to work around what she has. She doesn't have to have a specific plan. She would always say, we'll see how to do it, we'll try to do it, we'll manage it. So that's why in my head I was raised to try to work around what I began. For example, I would start with an outline or something related from the references that I had, and then I would also begin trying to work around this outline or what I began with. So my starting point, I guess, is very important, because it shows how the painting can look like, or it's a very important starting point, since I don't have a plan for it. But of course some of them fail, and a lot of them are successful, depending on how much concentrated I am. The title of the exhibition is called Fractus. The definition of fractals means that there's something that small pieces that are ongoing and changing and are reborn. So the definition represents my exhibition, because I have a lot of pieces that are fragmented and fractured and cut out into, and they're made into like small pieces and they have a lot of details in it. I started this technique in London when I was doing my master's degree. I usually work with subjects related to the female body and how it continues to change and how it, depending on the society and the evolution of the female body. So I started this work a few years ago and I wanted a continuation on it. And I felt that the borders of a canvas was making me pressured, so I started working on cutouts and cutting out every bit and part of the painting. The colors are very bright. A lot of it are red. A lot of the colors are red and pink, and skin tones that represent the body. And at the same time, there's a lot of bright colors and a lot of cold colors as well. I always like the contrast between those two colors because they also represent another form of painting and another form of art that is always, there's something always happening, and the colors make it even stronger. I guess in my painting the colors are very important to me, and I try to make it to show it as much as I can. My paintings are abstract and figurative, if I can describe it. There are lots of puzzles and insights in each painting. Each painting has a different story, in a way. It still represents the female body and still represents change. It has to do with the biology of the woman and how it can change inside out, and how the colors represent blood and a way of as if everything is coming out of your body and your skin and everything is exploding, more like a fusion. And I want the paintings to speak to each other and to have like an interactive personality in each painting. So each painting in the exhibition here is one way or another related to the other. The first piece began with the one in the corridor outside, the cutouts. I used the collage. I would do each piece, single piece painted and leave it, and then afterwards I would combine them all together. So it's a collection of a lot of cutouts. For the future, because the art is nowadays the contemporary art is globalized. To be a good artist, you have to be subjected to art all around the world, and you have to participate in exhibitions around the world. So my hopes are to actually participate in around the world, and to be known as an artist, and for people to appreciate my art and try to explain it to me rather than I explain it to them. It would make me feel like I'm a good artist if I knew how to develop that.